think we're live, are we? Yes, we're live. Hello everyone and welcome to another Unhide tutorial. So we're starting this live again, and today we're going through a bit of anatomy work after we blocked out our werewolf yesterday. So let's have a look, and that's where we left it, and we have a pretty good block out. I like the relationship between forms, so it looks legit. Of course, it's not sitting properly on the floor, but we're looking forward to create this final visual. So it's gonna be there, arched and very creepy, very angry. So what we need to do now is go past the point of blocking this thing. So what comes next? After we block it, we need to start thinking about anatomy work. And when I say anatomy work, we need to roughen out where the shapes for the main muscles are gonna be, make it look real, like it could really exist. And the way I like to do this thing is thinking from the worst part to the least worst part. So when you look at this, what's the worst thing we can see here? Well, it looks like the head is pretty bad. Like the head is the worst, and also the muscles and details that we have here in the back. It looks pretty ugly. It's very far from what actual anatomy would look like. And if you have a hard time finding out what's wrong about your model, there's one answer for this. The answer is references. You need to go and download many references so you get to know properly what's happening. The only way for you to see the flaws in your model is to compare to other models, either from real life models or from another artist's models. It could be anything, things that make you compare. So we were talking about the head and the back muscles. So we can have a look at anatomy work, and I also went for a few naked dogs. I couldn't find pictures like this from wolves, but it should be alright, you know. At the end of the day, it's a monster, it's a werewolf. People won't be fussing too much if anatomy is super perfect. Plus, we're getting fur on top of it. So it's gonna look cool. Here is a very good example of how muscles could be down the back. And for the head, obviously we need to have a look on all of these possibilities, but I like these drawings. They give me a pretty good example of how the head should be. And of course you're also experimenting a little bit. These naked dog images are really good because they can give me a really good idea of how skin would behave. So it's really good to pay attention to it. If you don't have references on what you're doing, just sit back, take a break, and it really pays off when you sit down for like an hour or so, grab a cup of coffee and just look for references. If you're working on anything, like let's say for the sake of the example, you're making a bat, you go there and you Google bat, plus keywords that has something to do with your project. Flying bat, naked bat, bat anatomy. Keep looking, and it's very likely that you're gonna come up with a nice pool of references that gonna make your life a lot easier. Alright, enough talking. Let's go and start working on our wolf's head. I think we can get rid of this. So I'm just gonna hit Shift Z so I remove spotlight. We don't see it anymore. And I won't merge this guy yet, for the same reasons that I didn't merge it yesterday. I'm still tweaking a few things, and there's still a decision that I need to make if I'm going to pose this guy or if I will actually rig it and place it into the pose, but I probably won't do that because that would give me a lot more trouble. Let's see. We know exactly where it's gonna be. If this model was meant to be a production model, then we would need to work on a neutral pose from start to finish, and then after that we would need to have a final mesh where we would actually build like morph targets and create different displacement maps for this. That's how they do it in the movies, you know, like they change the morph, they morph the displacement maps from a model to model as it changes, but we don't want to make this tutorial super extra lengthy, so we're just going to worry about a single pose. So what I'll do here is probably work on anatomy until a point I think it's satisfying, even without merging the model. Then we'll probably pose to the final shape of the final pose, I mean, like how it's going to look like in the end, and then we'll work on details like things like, let's say for the sake of the example, this guy here. If I knew that this is the final pose and I actually modeled that in a neutral pose and try to pose it naturally, this would be really hard, because you see how muscles deform, how the whole figure deforms towards that pose. So, you know, that would give me a lot of trouble, and after that I would still have it in that single pose and I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. So it's just about workflow. Okay, head shaping. Let's go and start working on this guy. I know that I have a single subtool here that comprehends many of these parts, and I think for the sake of now, like I know I'm gonna be tweaking a few things separately, I'd rather split this guy. So I want to go here to my subtool palette and split, and let's say group split. What group split is going to do is split my subtool between its polygroups. So this will be a group, this will be a group, all the different colors are going to be separate subtools. So bang, group split. Do it, it's not undoable. Cool, so all of these are into the separate subtool, and this guy here, I think we can delete that. We don't need it anymore. It's not really contributing to anything, so let's go here and delete this. Sweet. Let's start working on the head. Shift F so we lose the wireframe look, and first thing I'll do is start shaping this as a wolf's head. Let's have a look at the references. What would be a good wolf head to copy? This is a good reference. I think it's a dog, but you know, you don't have fur, so many good things for us to have a look at and understand how it works. And you see this line, like the nose sticks further out than the mouth. It's a very good landmark for us to understand. And what else? I think this is the one I like the most. Like even the colors, everything about this looks very threatening, and I think I like it. It's not as good as a reference though, because you know, it's all in perspective, really tough to really understand what's happening here. This is a good reference as well, without an ear though. Yeah, for now I'll stick to, where is it? Here we go. I'll stick to something like this. So guidelines, right? It was a bit like this, probably a bit more sticking out. The ear came out like from the center of the head. I'll work on it. So first I'll get some work done on the side view, and then we'll get to work on front view. Yeah, this looks a lot better than what we had before, which is like 1 second tweak. Look at this, brutally different. And what I did here wasn't so bad. I think I just need to make this a bit more bulky here and less bulky as a whole, like this. So it's getting the nose a bit better. Maybe this is sticking out a bit too much. This could be carved in, so we start to have that very basic eye socket. You see? Eyes are gonna be there. Let's punch these in. Let's be careful so it does not look goofy. We're looking for a werewolf. It should be threatening. A bit more like this. Maybe that was a bit too much, and it starts to look a bit sad. You see this sort of feature? Whenever we have this, let me explain in Photoshop. Alright, so, oh, not white, that hurts my eyes. Some mid-range gray is good. Let me create this. Okay, so whenever you have eyes, right, you have eyes here. If you do anything like this, it's gonna look sad. Like if you have a eyebrow that looks like this, if you have tissue that goes around this shape, it's gonna look sad. However, if you think on the opposite direction, this looks mean. It starts to look evil and angry, and it's gonna get you. So even more if you do it like this. Now it's just really evil. Alright, back to it. So let's not do this. Look, it looks really sad, which is not the case. I want my werewolf to be angry. Remember? Very angry, and you have that shape right here. It's cool so you don't lose this sort of effect when you're modeling. So it's always good to go back and have a look at it. This looks a bit more neutral. That's okay. I'm not working on the expression yet, just the rough shapes. Nose. I know the nose has something like this, and it's flat at the top. Flatter. Like this. Higher head. I'm not sure how this behaves. You see, like I'm starting to guess a bit too much here. Let's have a look at references. So it looks like we have a very high forehead. Wolves have high foreheads somehow. These are great references. They came out from a making of from New Moon. It's a making of the movie New Moon, and I think that was pretty good. Not the movie, but the making of. Good reference. You see, I think it's the same thing. It's from New Moon. You see this shape here? Nose and boom, forehead. It's very pronounced. So let's have a look at ours. It is pronounced, but it could be a bit more, I think. We have a very long, yeah, about here. I think our head might be, oops, here we go. Let's start some really simple model. Like, I think the mouth opens around here. This would be the jaw. So I'm gonna get a bit more bulk here with clay build up, and that will start making more sense. Very simple. I think our nose is a bit too big, so it's making the head feel really small. So let's go and start changing this. I'm not really sure of how. Maybe you should just select it like this. So it's just control painting over it, so we have a selection, and then I'm gonna go and control click my model so it softens the selection. Invert it, and now let's go and use some transpose. So I'm gonna go for S as scale, bring that out and decrease it. Not that much. Look like a bear. About here, decrease size a little bit. About here, doesn't seem too bad. Now drag and lose selection. So now we just need to keep working on this. Let's have a look at our references again. This is a nice reference. You see there's this shape here right below the eyes. Good stuff. Maybe we should add these to Spotlight. So let's go and add a few of these guys that we think are good references for the head on Spotlight and keep working on our model. When you can see them at the same time is a lot better than doing what I'm doing now, which is looking at reference and getting back there. So let's go to texture, import. Let's paste the address, thumbnails, and this looks like a nice reference for the head. Actually, this image is going to be very small, so it's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm not going to get it. This could be... Fur makes it a lot harder to really see what's happening. This... This is a good one. So I'm just control clicking them. So when I load them, it's gonna be all there. Open. So now I think, yeah, we have a few textures on Spotlight. Let's just add these. So add to Spotlight. Add to Spotlight, add to Spotlight, and this last guy add to Spotlight. So now let's click them and arrange in a way that's cool for us to have a look at. Scale this guy, maybe place it here. We don't need to stack all in the left corner. This could be good. And this is not necessarily needed, but I'll just leave it here for now. So we're done placing these guys. I'm gonna hit Z, so I'm not on Spotlight editing anymore, but I can still see it. Where's that image? There's one more that I think should be here. It's the... Paste it again. It's that anatomy shot. Very small image, and I think it's a dog. This one. I hate when it does that. Does anybody know how to fix this? When you add an image to Spotlight, it kind of messes with your actual distribution. So let's do it again. Why you do this to me? Let's go scale that up. You scale that up. For some reason it got really small, and I lost the one at the top. Spotlight is behaving crazy. I can't believe it. I actually lost the image I was looking for. Are you going to do this again, Spotlight? It's gonna make me do it again. I think it will. I'm sad to click this button. Again. I swear if that happens again, I'm gonna do it without references. It's gonna look like crap though. Here you go. I think we're good. You stay around here. Stay around here. So as soon as I look at this, I see there's something that is really weird. Look, I was just having this head a bit lengthier than it is somehow. So let's lose this. This is not supposed to be there. And what else? This looks like it could go a bit backwards like this. The center of the head is a bit too high. Look, this was a bit too high. This could become smaller around here. And you see this little corner here, so it's about here. You can decrease the size of this part, and of course we can fix the neck. So I'm gonna change subtools, Alt, click, and a different subtool. Symmetry is turned on, so that's good. Bring it closer. This makes a bit more sense. Smoothing it a little bit. Yeah, that starts to look a little bit better. We're using pretty much the move tool most of the time. We don't need much at this point. This is looking very weird and big, so let's use a little bit of clay build up. Just when I said we don't need it. But yeah, about here and here, and I think this will make more sense. Just move that out. It's a bit better. And B, move again. My mesh is getting really bad now because I'm stretching that out, so time for our usual Dynamesh. It's a bit too low res. Let's set it to 500 or something. That's better. Smooth it a little bit. Let's try a bit of clay build up. So I have the feeling that the eyes are here, so let's make a bit of a hole just so we mark that out. It's marked. I don't want to change it too much, just like this. And there's another part that right beneath the eye, if you look at this, it does have a bone. That's probably from the school. And oh, this looks really broad now. Let's get rid of it. Yeah, a bit more. Just feel a little bit of the empty space. Yeah. The mouth would be something about here. when we start to think about, you know, the expression and how this guy is, it's probably going to be a bit like this. So the mouth is going to be a bit higher, about here. Maybe this is good timing to add the lower part of it, jaw, because like I said before, the only way we're going to see this guy is towards final pose. So I'm gonna start adding that. Like we've been doing before, when we want to add a bit, I'm just going to extract that. So this looks like a good shape for this bit. And we'll go to Subtool, Extract. Boom. Here we go, we have a new part. And I'm going to accept that, not too bad. Hold Alt, click it, so we change, Control, click and drag outside so we lose the selection. X to turn on symmetry. See? So let's smooth that out. Start to work on its shape. Back to our beloved Move tool. Bring this out about here. It's very curvy. I don't think that behaves like this. It's probably more like that. Don't worry about this, it's gonna blend. At some point we'll just merge it together like it is for real. But until we get there, let's just keep merging things. Not merging, but let's just keep stacking them together. And let's open this mouth. So I'll just hit R for our rotate tool. Click here on where it's gonna be the pivot and drag it out. Yeah, that's cool. So what happens in our visual? It's a very wide open mouth. So let me see what we can do with that. Yeah, maybe that's a bit too much. Let's keep working, and if we feel like we need to change it, we'll do that later on. Now let's flatten this bit a bit more, just using clay build up. And probably we'll bring it back forward. I bring it back backwards, you know, in the opposite direction from the nose. We can probably tweak this as well. Lose the selection, tweak it, start digging. Same thing, clay build up. We're just roughening out. Don't worry about details. The same way we were only looking for the proportions, the general proportions, we're going to be doing this on a smaller scale. So that's what we're doing to the head. We're trying to find out what's going to work for this guy. No details. Because you can get to a point where you look at it and say, nah, this is not going to work, and just erase the whole thing. That's fine. My smooth brush is not behaving really well, and I think I remember why. Back in the last video, we went here and we went to samples. Oh, not samples actually. We went to auto masking and turn on topological, but it's not turned on also. It's just weird. I don't know why. It's just behaving really weird. Maybe just needed to be bigger. Okay, there's something really weird about the eyes here, so let's brush it off. Something that I noticed here, look how the nose ends, and then you still have a little bit of, let's say, mouth, or, you know, this area, and here we go all the way to the bottom. So let's work on this. Move tool, bring it in, bring this down, let's fix it. I think we can actually make this a bit more narrow, like this, Same thing can happen to the mouth. So now we're getting a bit closer to 2 levels. I like this design, like when it does this thing, and I think at the end of the day, when it starts to, you know, just bring those flaps of skin, when he's really angry, it's gonna be like this. So it's closer to what's gonna look like in the end, and it looks a bit better as well. As for the graphical mass on the head, maybe the eyes are too close together. Have a look at this, how far apart they are. So let's bring this like this. Maybe I pushed it backwards a little bit too much. Yeah, it's slowly starting to get there. I think I can bring this out a bit more. Also, look at this. When the mouth is open, we have this membrane, you know, this soft tissue here that makes this shape. And what we have here, we have nothing. So let's work on this too. Let's bring this lower. Don't be, you know, we're on early stages, and that's fine to do what I'm doing here. If you want to pull things apart from another mesh on the normal directions, you know, I could be here and try to move it outwards, but it's not exactly where I want it to move. You see, it moves backwards. If you come here and hold Alt, click and drag, it's going to do the drag according to its normals. So it's going to go on the direction of the polygons. That's what I want to do here. So done. Bring this closer to this area. Look at the curvature, the way it works. It goes on a very soft curve, and then you have this pinch right here. So at the moment we have it opposite to this. We need to have that soft curve and the pinch. And also let's bring it, tuck it in, getting better. It looks really weird here. So how does that work? Let's have a look at the wolves. So they have this very interesting thing. I think you guys can't see it. Let me go to Z, and we're back to spotlight. Have a look at this. When it comes down to their nose, you have this curve that goes and joins with the nose again. So that's what we need to do here. Z again, so spotlight's not activated. And my mesh is starting to look like crap again. Look, I keep pushing things just so it looks like closer to the shape that I want, but then you mess with topology. Dynamesh again. So geometry, Dynamesh. Now I don't have crappy topology. I mean, I still do, but for the sake of this, you know, just fudging things in place, I just need more resolution to work with. So bring this closer, smooth, it's okay. Adjust this part. This may change a lot, because this guy is going to be angry, and it probably changes here. We're going to fetch different references for this. It looks like a old dog now. Bad move. Let's do it from another view. But you see the point here, right? It's a lot of observation. It's not from memory. If I was a guy who knew how to draw wolves really well, I would be doing fine, you know, like, because it's all in my head. But the truth is, most of the times it's not going to be in your head, and you're getting to model things that are different at all times. So never underthink of a really good reference. You need that. What did I do? It's weird. Cone head. So bring this lower. Let's move that a little bit. Yeah, it looks a bit more natural. This can definitely get some work done to it. So I'm gonna go to clay build up, and I'm gonna remove a little bit from this area, and this helps me to have this mean look. Starting to have it. This can probably be a little bit less fat. You know, it's very thick. Better. Keep doing it. There's this making of that shows the wolves on New Moon. Let's have a look at it. I even saved that because it was super good. Probably one of the best references. Wolf R&D, that's it. Have a look. It's pretty awesome. It's work done by Dexter Studio. Yeah, Dexter Studio, that is. And look how amazing that is. You know, it looks like a cat now, or like a very thin dog. It's amazing. So fur, it's gonna change it dramatically. What we need to be careful is to make sure we model it in a way that's not gonna look fat when you add fur to it. So here, all of these shapes are really interesting. And you see the thing with the eye that I mentioned, like there's this bit of volume underneath the eye. We don't have ears yet, and that's probably making our model look a bit weird. So we're probably gonna add that. We're not too far from this point. And I also feel like the head could get bigger as a whole. But let's keep working on it, and I'll do that later. Ears. Let's extrude some ears. Same way we've been doing. Paint them out. Some of them look really high in the head, and some of them look lower. I think I'm gonna go somewhere in between and think of what looks the best in our case. So just painted that, control paint over our mesh, and of course symmetry is turned on, so we have that selection. Let's go to subtool, extract, and accept that. Alt click our brand new subtool that comes with our masking. We don't need that, so control drag outside of it. It looks like a hyena or something really weird. Let's hit X so we have symmetry. You see, let's move it, and let's start using move tool to get nice ears. There we go. About here. I'm looking at all of these and trying to average out. About here, I think. What I can see here is that the head is really, it's something that it's wider at the back. And look at mine. It's not really wide, like it tapers down, so I think we could do some work to this. Let's go and hit control, lose the selection. Let's make this wider at the back. Not too bad. I think it looks better. Of course, we probably need to arrange how the neck attaches to it, but it's fine. Ears look a bit wonky. Maybe higher. About here. How do ears behave when the animal is angry? We need to keep making these questions all the time. Here on mine, I think I made them really low because he looks like he's in danger, or he's frightened, or he's in danger. I don't know. I think maybe we would be better off if he was really pissed off. So let's have a look at our references again. This is a good one. We were looking at it. It looks like they're bent backwards. Nah, it's not really consistent. This is mean. It's like bat ears. but a bit too unrealistic. I always like to bring things to the realism side of it. Really tall in the head. And look, another thing that it's amazing about this, look how tall the head is. I don't think the head I have at the moment is this tall. But let's have a look. It's not too far off. I thought it was worse. However, we can still bring that a little bit more. And of course, bring the jaw as well. Here. Ears. I think I'm going to rotate these guys. So we can go and hit R. So you go to transpose. And I'm gonna click right here. Where you first click, it's gonna be the pivot. And I'm gonna click here. And the second pivot, it's gonna be where you leave the click. So I click here, drag until I'm here, and let go. So what I have here, it's a gizmo that behaves from this area to this area, and this center handle right here, if you click right in the middle, you can rotate in that axis. So pretty good stuff. What we had now is something like this. It's Mickey Mouse. Now we need to turn it a bit like this, or like this. Yeah, no, this way, but not too much. Something about here. Back to our move tool, and let's keep working on our ears. So bring this backwards. Good puppy. Here. Here. A bit lower, maybe. Yeah. This. It's shaping up. Not too bad. Every time you go to this point, because while I'm working on this and explaining you how to do so, I'm always looking for flaws and things I can make better. One I can notice here, look how this always looks like this bit here is higher than this one. Same thing here, you know, the top of the head looks higher than this. And with mine, it's also true, but not as much. I think we could come here, click this guy, and maybe lower the top of the head a little bit. It doesn't change much, but you know, just something to fuss. Let's keep moving. This is not so realistic. Bring this out. Bring it in. Bring it out again. Lower that up. Now let's keep fixing what we messed up. That's cool. So I think we have a good base now. This is layout. This got a good layout, and it's gonna change dramatically when we add fur. Let's have a look of how this might work if we had fur. So I'm just gonna hit print screen on my keyboard. I'm gonna go to Photoshop, Control N as a new document, hit enter, so it's gonna be the size of the clipboard, Control V, so we paste it, crop this guy, and let's start painting over. I love doing paint overs because it's a really quick way for me to be sure that things are gonna work. So far it's gonna be about here. And you see the first thing that happens to the wolves is this. Start just quickly brushing that sort of feeling. Let's this way. This is gonna get really furry too. And he is gonna be pissed off, so this will be really tall. I'm just grabbing the color picker, and look how different it gets just because we got this big mass of fur over it. We have fur underneath the chin, maybe a little bit, not much though. So you can keep crafting this, you know, like let's say the nose is gonna be here. I wanna make sure it's gonna work. So I draw it, this sort of thing. Here, it's cool as well. You can draw the eye how you want it to be. It's quicker than actually fudging things in place and finding out if they work or they don't work. Like teeth and things like this. But the only reason why I came here is this. So you can see it works a little bit better. And it's kinda realistic. I wanna keep this closer to the wolf. So okay, we're good. Can close this document. Go back to our Zbrush file. This is a bit too much like a dog. I think we can have a better and longer nose here. Let's try this out. It looks a bit like a rat. Not too much. Maybe I went too far. This. And it's very wide around here. Maybe not so much. Smooth that out a little bit. Clay build up. I know this section here sticks out because of the cranium. The skull of the wolf. Let's have a look of how this behaves. I have a really good reference here. Where is it? Here we no. Here. So if you have a careful look, there's this section that sticks out, and this is probably this area, which is it's not what I was doing there. It was this section further back in the head. That's why I had the feeling that further back it gets wider. That's why. So I think we should do this. So it's a bit below the eye. It sticks out a bit too much. So let's do it. Further after the eye, about here. So let's take it out. And here, let's dig in. I was doing that wrong. It looks so much better. Look. Straight away, looks more like a wolf. Good stuff. So let's have a look at our references again. Good stuff. It goes round around here. This is a bit more muscle. I'm not gonna place it there. A bit more volume here. Can dig in a bit more, I think. No, let's go back. I messed up. This landmark is not bad. It's actually pretty good. It's starting to get more and more like a wolf. It's very round. You can see this here. I have the feeling that maybe eyes could be a bit taller. Let's go and push it. Yeah, that's better. I had this impression from this image, because when you see it like this, like side to side, we can compare, and the eyes are very tall. Before, they didn't look as tall, so this kind of helped us. Maybe it's a bit further out as well. This is a bit out like this. The mouth, look, it goes and widens out as we go. And what we have here, look, our mouth tucks in again. So let's fix this. Widens more. See it again. Better. Of course, our jaw needs to follow along. Here we go. Ears can be higher in the head. Look at this guy. So I'm just gonna go with my rotate tool, going to center my axis right here. I'm gonna drag all the way off the model, so that's gonna rotate on that pivot. And I think I'll also bring that lower in the head. So W as we go for move tool, drag it out and bring it closer. Think about here. So we're talking about making the head bigger as a whole. I think this would be good, and we're not too far from this section. Maybe we should have a look at how this behaves. Let's go to our references again. This is a nice one. Yeah, like somehow when the mouth is open, there's this bit of skin that's a bit floppy here. I'm not really sure about it. Another one. Same thing happens. It's really narrow. Let's see this guy. Okay. So what happens here is that for some reason this part of the mouth, not the mouth itself, but the back of the jaw, it tucks in. It doesn't go along the rest. So let's click it and indent that. I'll do the same thing with this. And then I'll get to this part. And it looks weird about here. I think it's good. Maybe it's time for me to blend both of these guys together. So ears could be blended as well, I think, because in this way we can keep changing the shape of the head. So let's see how this goes in our subtools. Ears, and then head, and then mouth. So these are the three bits that we were working on. I'm gonna go and before I do that, we haven't saved at all since we started this live, so let's go save as CG Zbrush and Werewolf 3. Boom. If we lose anything, if we have a crash, we can always go back there. So I'm gonna go and merge it. So merge now. Okay, we don't need to be reminded every time, so I'm gonna say skip this note until next restart. And merge down again. So we have all of these guys in the same subtool, but remember we also have them as separate polygroups, so it's not a big deal if you want to work them out separately. Let's go and increase the size as a whole. So it's gonna be, oh, not rotating, sorry, E for scale. Scale that out a little bit, just a tad. It makes a difference, and I think it's not too bad. It's looking okay. So yeah, I think that's enough content for this live. We went from, do we have, here we go, we went from this blob to something that resembles a lot more of the wolf, and it's only observation. I never modeled that, and what I'm trying to teach you here is that you can work on it just by observation. So the importance of having good reference and looking at it, question yourself what it's looking odd here and why, it's gonna get you good models. All right, so catch you guys later and hope you're enjoying this.